people don't understand, like, and I remember I knew somebody, right? And he was like, yo, I'm trying to get a job at this place, right? I said, damn, I know somebody there. So when things didn't go right, he came to me, man. He was like, yeah, they shot me down because they said this, that, and the third, my record. I said, damn, I know somebody. I'm gonna go in there and talk to him. So I knew a manager there, and I went there and I said, listen, man, I know this guy. I said, I'm vouching for this guy based off of the respect that you had for me, based off of my success and what you've seen that I did in the community. But I need you to know something, and I need you to understand something very important. When y'all telling him no based off of something he did before, that no is just not a no. You're resentencing me. You're every no out here to somebody you're resentencing him because you're saying that what you did time for, but that wasn't enough time. So I'm gonna sentence you again and I'm gonna penalize you again. So I'm breaking that down to him and they like, we never looked at it. I said, that could be devastating to him. That can make him go back, get on drugs. That can make him choose the streets. So when you're looking at these no's that people is facing, it's not a no based off of just a regular no. You're telling them the time that they did for the crime that they committed wasn't enough. I'm gonna give you some more time and I'm gonna resentence you by saying no. A no is a resentence to somebody, and not just as a resentence, it could be devastated, and it also could be a trigger to go somewhere comfortable.
It also says to us that people seldom believe in change.
Yes, no, yeah, they don't.
They don't believe in change. That's why marriages break up and you can't find forgiveness. People don't believe that it is possible to have change. We talk like we do.
Yeah, people don't.
But in reality, they think, oh, I know you got a record. You're a felon, so and so and so and so. Climbing over that kind of prejudice, it's not easy. Any kind of prejudice.
No.
It's not easy, whether black, white, or brown, young or old, any kind of prejudice, because I have prejudged you. So that no is a sentence, to your point, all over again. So bringing down the rate of recidivism becomes quite difficult. Chapter 4, Next Opportunity. How did you find the will within yourself to face your no's? Whether it's from your old lady, your girlfriend, your mother, your sister, how did you rebound back again without retreating back to the bars? Because at least they were familiar and you had 3 square and a cot.
No, you know what it was for me? No mean next opportunity, next opening. So I'm like, okay. And my whole thing was, I was able to, because I'm going to give you an example. I remember I went to this big corporation. It was somebody I knew, somebody that liked me on social media, hit me up, was like, yo, I want you to meet my boss. And I mean, he's head of the marketing. I think y'all could do something. So I go to the office, I go up there, I'm all happy. I go to New York, I'm like, yeah, I'm ready to make it. It's going on. I think they're going to get me to market these stuff for brand sponsorship, whatever. So I go up there and I go in to walk into the room. I'm waiting, I'm walking to the room. I get to tell him what I do, this, that, third, this, that, third. He sent me back. He said, yeah, wait outside. I'll be in a moment. So he called the guy there that brought me there. Then he came back out. He was like, it ain't gonna happen right now. It's just not the time, boom, boom, boom. So I'm like, now I'm shocked. I'm like, damn, I ain't even really get to, like, so I said, I just need to ask him one thing. Could you just, I just ask him one thing. I just need to know. It's so much information and it's so many lessons and blessings in the know. I said, I need to know why, right? Because I already got in the building, so something got me here. I need to know why I can't go to the next level. So
hold on just a moment. I want to be sure that I underscore what he just said. He turned no into an acronym and called it Next Opportunity.
Next Opening.
Next Opening. Very few people hear next opening when they hear no. When they hear no, they hear you're not good enough. Stay in your place. Don't try to be any better. You're in prison. That's where you belong. You need to go back. They are resentenced all over again. But you had something in you that said there's another opportunity coming. What was that?
And right here at that moment, not just did I want to know, because I knew before I got the information about the no, what I knew is no is connected to personal beliefs, personal outlooks. So that don't mean that no is for everything in this room. No might just be from you. And that might be your fears. It might be your shortcomings. It might be something that you don't see. It might be your lack of vision. That don't mean that I'm not great. That don't mean that I can't take this job and be the greatest person that ever even worked in this corporation. That don't mean that. What that mean is, based off of your outlook, based off of your journey, you might say, or you might can't see the vision in me, or you might can't understand that I'm able to deliver based off of your shortcomings and your fears. You might be just not educated about who I am, where I come from, or the idea or the hard work, whatever. So I don't look at it like that. It's not a personal hit, never. So when he came back out.
But you know that's not normal.
Oh,
Most people, what you think about them becomes their business. Only a few small percentage of people have the inner fortitude and tenacity to be able to say, what you think of me is none of my business.
That ain't none of my, that's yours.
That's yours. So you leave that with them. You had the ability to do that. Did that come from Nanny? Where did that come from?
Yeah, definitely Nanny had a big part of that, because Nanny didn't really, I never seen Nanny get bothered by nothing. And then my Uncle Tommy, he just always was cool. He ain't never cared about nothing, no matter what nobody said about him. He was the same person every day. So when I'm looking at that, I understand that. But I knew if you could take the personal part out of it, your world could open up. Because if I would have stormed out that room that day and didn't wait, he went back in that room, he said, Wallo, you came at the end. And I said, what you mean? He said, you didn't even have a deck. I said, what is a deck? A deck is a resume for business to show analytics, to show your numbers, to show why the partnership worked. And he said, Wallo, a lot of times when you come into these big corporations and you trying to do brand deals or partnership, they're looking for you to bring the idea and the value you're gonna bring, how it's gonna be mutually beneficial, and the idea that they can roll out. And even he said sometimes it even get to the point of understanding what type of budget it's gonna take. Is you gonna shoot the content? Is they gonna shoot the content?
Right.
So I said, yeah, but what is a deck? I'm sitting there like, what is a deck? He went right on Google, showed me. I said, that's a deck. I said, I know somebody that can make that. I said, listen, man, thank you. That was one of the greatest days of my business journey, because I realized that day, I said, everything is on Google, number one. And then not just that, I realized, like, hold up. What if I'd have left? I wouldn't have got this $1 million worth of game. I wouldn't have got all this game.
Let me tell you what I realized listening at you talk. That you speak in other languages.
Okay.
You have the ability to do street talk, but now you're learning the ability to speak in business language. You're learning what a deck is. You're learning what ROI is. You're learning what a promo is. You're learning what a pitch is, a pitch competition. You're learning all of this new language. And I think it's important for people to know that you can't change your life until you change your language. When you begin to change your language, you also have to change your habits. You start talking about financial literacy. We teach financial literacy because most of us don't sit around the table talking about the stock market. Well, you know, the stocks are down this week, and I'm going to invest in NVIDIA. I'm going to do this over here. I'm going to go with blockchain. I'm going to do so and so. No, we don't sit around the table talking about that. We generally sit around the table either talking about the food or talking about each other. Okay, so poor people talk about each other. Middle class people talk about opportunities. Rich people talk about what they're going to do with the money, how they're going to let the money work for them rather than them work for the money. So there's a difference in conversation. You can't go to the next level with the old language.
And I've realized that. I realized multiple things. Coming out of prison, I realized that you gotta know how to speak. Number one, I always had that, but I also realized that the look was the hook. Damn, I gotta invest in some suits. I gotta know when to show up a certain way. I gotta be there at a certain time. I gotta, I know I can't take certain people with me. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody can't go. And a lot of times people get offended with that. Back where we from, you know how everybody take offense. What you mean, you can't go because this is not the environment for you, and you don't know how to act. You might don't know how to dress, and you might mess up this opportunity for me.
Now I gotta confess.
Go ahead.
I laid out a suit.
Go ahead.
To come to do this interview. But when I started investigating all the interviews you'd done, you always dressed casual. So I had to ditch the suit. So I could match.
You knew the room.
Yeah, you got to match the energy of the room that you're in. So I came up with this. Otherwise, I'd be tied, suited, booted. That's my normal.
Yes, you do.
That's my uniform. You know, that's my uniform.
You got 10,000 suits.
So I'm trying to meet you, okay? to know how to fit and blend into the situation. We took a group of formerly incarcerated inmates and took them to different jobs at major Fortune 100 companies. They were terrified. They didn't have the clothes for it. They didn't have the language for it. They walked into offices where the corporate rules are not always written. And suddenly we began to understand that you have to move them into better slowly. We like to talk about better and going to the next level,
Yeah.
but are we really ready to go to the next chapter, next level in our lives?
No, it's multiple things. First of all, you can't teach what you're gonna know, and you can't lead where you don't go. So it's real deep.
Exposure.
Like expose. A lot of times in our communities, we lack exposure.
Right.
Like, and I think we get so invested in one department of life that we don't focus on different department of life or having different. Like, it's like a toolbox. You know what I mean? You can have a tool belt on, or you could just have a screwdriver, a Philip. Like, you can have just a couple pieces, but then you got the guy to come in with the tool belt. So anything in here they can take apart, they can do anything. They're adaptable, and I think a lot of people don't know how to be adaptable and just realize that, you know, or get around people that are adaptable or be receptive to change, receptive to criticism.
Right.
Because when we hear criticism, the human vocabulary based off of where we come from, we have words that we have this mental list in our mind is always negative. When we hear him, damn, he criticizing on me. So criticize went from criticizing somebody, basically you critiquing them or you trying to help them, whatever, to you're a hater.
Right.
Like anybody that don't agree with you is a hater.
Right.
When sometimes somebody that don't agree with you, they probably critiquing you and they might something that you could change because in a lot of quote unquote hate, there's some truth in there. That's why I hurt you the most. If you speak about us, if our people speak about us or if any other nationality speak about us and it's true, that's when it hurt.
Yeah.
See, we don't see when it's true, it's hurt. And now when it's truth, a lot of times when people speak categorize them a hater, a racist, or whatever, because the truth hurt.
Yes, because we were talking through social media.
Yep.
You don't get to have a rebuttal. You don't get to
Yeah.
have a discussion.
Yeah.
And the truth of the matter is when you start talking about people in lower class neighborhoods,
Yeah.
underserved neighborhoods, most of them have never left their neighborhood.
They never seen
They
nothing
eat
else.
in those restaurants. They stay in the 2 or 3 city block radius. They haven't seen the other part of Dallas. But let me tell you what I learned. The other part of Dallas hadn't seen them either.
Nobody talk about that.
Yeah, they are just as much in a bubble as the other group is. And we'll never have a United States of America as long as we are quadrant off into different segments